Hey, how's it going, everyone? Saintsfan back again with another GTA 5 video, and today I want to talk about the gun running DLC, the release date for it. We don't know anything official from Rockstar, but over the last month, pretty much, I've been getting a ton of tweets, a ton of questions. I've seen a ton in the comment section. People are just wondering, when is this gonna be coming? So what I wanted to do today in this video was take a look at some clues that could possibly point to when the gun running DLC will be released. So if you are sort of curious and potentially want to know a decent, I would say, estimation as to when this DLC is going to be coming out, then this video is going to be for you. If you don't like speculation or any of that stuff, then this video is not for you, so you don't need to watch it. But anyway, let's go ahead and hop into some of the clues. Now we'll go ahead and take a look at the DLC schedule, the release schedules for every single DLC around this time, going back to when the game first came out it came out in 2013, but the first time the game was out around this month period was in 2014. So in 2014, we had the Capture Creator, and this DLC, or little mini update, was added on April 8th. Next up, we had the High Life update, and this DLC was added on May 13th. Then we had the I'm Not a Hipster update, and this DLC was added on June 17th. Now, the one thing I will say regarding 2014, I wouldn't take too much of 2014 into consideration because that was their first year of making this DLC. The DLC back then are nothing like they are now. Obviously, they learned probably a lot from that year of when's the best time to release DLC, and that's why you're going to see here in 2015 and 2016, they sort of did something a little bit different. So going into 2015, looking at the DLC that came out that year, so we actually had the Heist update on March 10th. So early March, there was the Heist update, which was, at the time, obviously, the biggest update to GTA Online. That's the one that everyone was waiting for. And I think because of that, they sort of took their time with working on some of the other, or the next DLCs, because the next few DLCs that's when they started to become really good. That's when the DLCs sort of stepped it up and went to the next level. So the Heist update came out on March 10th. Now, the next update after that was on June 10th. So what is that, 3 months later? It was a pretty big gap after Heist. And I mean, that is to be expected, like I said, because Heist was the biggest DLC they were working on, and the Ill-Gotten Gains Part 1 was a pretty big DLC as well, and I'm sure they thought that the Heist update would last over the 3 months that they were gonna release nothing. So they had one on March 10th, then they had one on June 10th, and then obviously the Ill-Gotten Gains Part 2 DLC came out a month later on July 8th. So March, June, July. Now going back to 2014, it was April, May, June. So in 2014, there was one pretty much, or an update every month, where 2015, that's when we started to get the month-long breaks, or 2-month-long breaks between these DLCs. So then hopping into 2016, this is where it gets a little interesting. So you can see some similarities. This is where I think they started to learn what the best release dates were. In 2016, we had the Lowriders Custom Classics coming out on March 15th. Now, do keep in mind, this is also when they started to stretch out these DLCs by releasing a car per week, because we all know with the Lowriders Custom Classic, that was when they had the minivan at Benny's and a bunch of other questionable cars. So while this DLC did initially start on March 15th, it lasted through, I believe, the middle of April. I could be wrong on exactly when it lasted, but it was somewhere around April. Then the next DLC after that one was the Further Adventures in Finance and Felony update on June 7th. So again, they followed the path of releasing an update in March, waiting a few months, and then releasing the next one in June. Also, one thing I do want to point out is the E3 period of when it's actually going to be live, because especially this year, they actually might be at E3 Rockstar because of Red Dead Redemption 2. Normally, as many of you guys know, they don't go to any of the gaming conventions. They sort of just announce what they want to announce on their own time and by themselves. They really don't host conferences or anything to announce their games. But this year, we might actually see some stuff. I know, for instance, I saw there was a rumor going around that Red Dead Redemption 2 would actually be available at E3 on the Xbox Scorpio in 4K resolution. So I'm sure we'll see some sort of information about Red Dead at E3. But in 2016, last year, E3 was June 14th to June 16th. So a week after the Further Adventures in Finance and Felony. So they released this big DLC before E3. And the reason I bring E3 up is because that's like the major event, if you don't know, where like pretty much every game gets announced for the most part, or at least that's where they talk about, these companies talk about these big giant games coming. And that's when a lot of the community, like the gaming community in general, get hyped up about everything. So if you're releasing something, a DLC or a game, it makes sense to announce it or release it near E3 because that's when everyone is hyped. Plus, that's also when summer is sort of starting. But just keep in mind that they released that DLC, The Further Adventures in Finance and Felony, a week before E3. So kind of at the same time when everyone's getting hyped, but they released it before all these other games sort of overshadow it. Now, that moves us to 2017. So far, I'm not going to really include 2014 because, like I said, that was probably an anomaly. In 2015, we had a March DLC, then a June DLC. 2016, a March DLC, then a June DLC. Guess what? In 2017, guess when the last DLC came out? In March. This Special Vehicle Circuit Races DLC, while some may not think it's a DLC, I'm going to include it, obviously, because it was an update. It added a few new cars to the game. It came out on March 14th of 2017. And the final part of the Special Vehicle Circuit DLC was the adversary mode that they just put out last week. The one with the top-down racing. So to Rockstar, they've been putting out content for basically a month, or maybe even a little bit more. And then also, taking a look this year at E3, it's around the same time as last year. Last year was the 14th, June 14th to June 16th. This year, it's June 13th to June 15th. But what that means is, I think one of the most likely scenarios, the most likely release dates for the gun running update is on June 6th, which would be a week before E3. So it would be the exact same situation like we had last year, where they had this big DLC and they release it a week before E3, so people talk about it, and the hype gets built for it instead of these other games and all this other stuff that's being talked about. And it would also make sense if they did it before E3, if they were planning on talking about Red Dead at E3, because they want to get GTA out there, they want to let people play it, let people see it, let people buy shark cards, and then, a week-ish later, they boom, here's Red Dead 2 information. And then everyone gets hyped about that. But that's already after they bought the shark cards and, played the game and all that. Now, with all that being said, let's take a look at some other stuff. So we all know the Newswire post from Rockstar. They said gun running and more coming later this spring and summer. So we already know that there's going to be another DLC this spring, and there's going to be another DLC this summer. And for whatever reason, Rockstar's spring doesn't end until June 22nd, I believe. It's either the 21st or the 20th. It's sometime in June, like middle of June. That's when their spring technically ends. So if they were to release the gun running DLC in June, while some people may think that is still summer, to Rockstar that is technically spring. Also, some other stuff, the double GTA money on contact missions, that is actually going to be ending May 1st. I'm kind of wondering if they'll do another double GTA money in something for 2 weeks in May to sort of build up more, I guess, to the gun running update. Like, wouldn't it be awesome if they did double GTA heists again to build up for the gun running update? That would be really awesome, and that would bring a lot of hype to the game because obviously people like playing heists, and heists pay the most amount of money. So if you got double GTA money on heists, that would get a lot of people playing the game again to get prepared for the gun running update. And then the other thing, the tax refund, that's not going to be dropped into our accounts until sometime in May. So I think they're sort of delaying that. So you get this free money, and then it feels like you're sort of almost ready for the gun running DLC. Because I'm pretty sure they could have just given the tax refund in April, which would have made more sense, because that's when people have to do taxes in real life. So by them, delaying it a little bit till May, then it almost makes the wait shorter. Now, I could be completely wrong, and they could release this DLC in May. If anything, I think it'll be towards the end of May. I doubt we'll get it towards the beginning of May, only because Rockstar, just from a business perspective, I don't think they would do that, since a lot of, people that play their game, a lot of kids, are still in school. I feel like they'll wait till June when most people are out of school, and that means they have more time to play GTA, which means they have more time to buy shark cards, right? So that's why I think that June 6th release date is looking more and more likely. Although, just a side note, and this is completely irrelevant to anything, I feel like they'll go ahead and release it the last week of May. And the only reason I say that is because I'm going to the Grand Canyon, that area of the United States, like Arizona, Utah, and stuff, for the last week of May. So I feel like they'll release it while I'm there. But I think the most likely scenario is, like I said, June 6th. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. Do you guys agree? Do you not agree? I mean, just taking a look at some of these clues, it's almost hard to say that it's not going to be sometime around that June 6th date, just because of the 2 years that they've, 2015, 2016, and then sort of what they're hinting at and what they're saying in their news wires. But like I said, that was just some clues that could point to when the gun running DLC will be released. Obviously, it's all speculation, so do take whatever I say with a grain of salt. But I feel like it's a really solid estimation. So, estimation. But that is it with the video. So thank you all for watching. Please drop the video a like if you did enjoy. Subscribe for more awesome GTA content. And as always, I'll see you guys in the next one.